So all miracles mean life, and God is the giver of life. His voice will direct you very specifically. You will be told all you need to know. One of the definitions of God that appears in the Course is very simple. It says God is life. Right there, just life. Life and God is love, and God is life, and God is love, and love is life, and life is love. It all goes together. So let's begin with a few basics. There is no perfection in an illusory world, and this world is an illusory world, in case you hadn't noticed that. Heaven is a perfected state. You are already home. And that's a very important idea in the Course. You're already home. You're already there. The Course at one point talks about your other life, not the life of the ego and the world and space and time, but the self that you always have been, you always are. As a matter of fact, you cannot leave because this world is the dream. This is a fantasy. This is not reality. So when we wake up, we actually go home. A lot of people, when they're dying, will start saying, I want to go home. And that's an interesting thing. I want to go home. I want to go back to my origins, back to the root, back to where I really belong. Of course, America says heaven is here. There's nowhere else. Heaven is now. There is no other time. In fact, there's no time at all except within the illusion of this world. So as you know, the Course says that time itself is an illusion. So we live in an illusory world. We're living in a fantasy world, and the time's an illusion, space is an illusion. All of that stuff that seems so much real that has nothing to do with heaven. We could draw a line, and across the line we've got heaven, and it's a perfected state. That's very important. It's a perfected state. So seeing how it's a perfected state, that really means that there's no evolution there. By evolution, see what we have in time is we have evolution. Things change in time. And we grow in time, which is what we're here for. Actually, we're here to grow and to learn. We do that in time. But what if you don't have an evolution process? What if there's nothing like it? It's a permanent, perfect state of being. So the kingdom of heaven is in you. It's not, of course, in your body, and it's not in your ego. So if you have a body, you have an ego. They kind of go together. The body is the ego's chosen home. We're very, very identified with these bodies. We do think that this is who we are. We think about our bodies and our egos all the time. If you have a mind, you have a spirit. So mind and spirit are connected. So mind is the point at which we actually live in a divided state. So in a divided state means we're aware of the ego mind, but there's also the Holy Spirit. There's also the part of us that is already spirit. So we're split. We have a split mind, and the idea what we need to do is to get back to the whole-mindedness of pure spirit, which we already are. And one way that you could see that is that what's happening in space and time is a dream. This is a fantasy. The Course talks about our need to awaken from the dream, to remember who we really are, who we always have been. So what I see with happening, say, with Jesus in the wilderness, is that he goes out there and 40 days and 40 nights, goes real deep inside, and he has an awakening experience. And the awakening experience is that he then becomes identified with the Christ mind. So much so that he can then say, I and the Father are one, which he does, but that doesn't happen until after that deep inner search, which occurs in the wilderness. And of course, Buddha goes through a similar kind of process sitting under the Bodhi tree, and he comes up eventually with, I am awake. I'm awake. I'm not in the dream anymore. It's a similar kind of a process. So there is no eternity in the body. Obviously not. Every body dies. It's inevitable because a body is a thing that is a part of form, and all form changes in time. So bodies may age at different rates or speeds, but they're all aging along the way. As we all know, there's going to get to a point where we just have to let the body go. I read once online that it said that it seems as though about 115, 116 maybe is about the max that anybody could get to, right? Maybe that's being extended a little bit as we evolve in time, but there's definitely a limit there, right? The body is a physical form. It will die. All forms are constantly being transformed. So nature is constantly being transformed. We're going from winter into spring and then the fall. The leaves will fall and die and turn into fertilizer and around and round and round we go. This is the time of year when baby animals of all sorts are being born. So the new life is coming into being, just as the old life is going. So having always been born, spirit, it cannot be die. And God's function is ours, and happiness cannot be found apart from our joint will. That's a very important point, which I'll be emphasizing more this evening. Your will and God's will are exactly the same. Well, it doesn't maybe look that way, and of course it doesn't look that way because the ego's got a hold on things, right? And the ego is trying to control things. Ultimately, that's an important word, ultimately we're going to have to let that ego thing go. And when we let that thing go, then we can go back to the state of heaven or eternity into a place where there is no ego, no separate self. And that's very important. No separate self, but a joint mind. So this is Jesus speaking, as Jesus is speaking throughout the course. Although it's very interesting, and sometimes rather than saying I, in the course you may notice it says we. That's anyway, we. What does we mean? Well, we means must mean Jesus, the Holy Spirit, all combined. So Jesus is speaking. I have repeatedly emphasized that one level of the mind is not understandable to another. So it is with the ego and the Holy Spirit, with time and eternity. Eternity is an idea of God, so the Holy Spirit understands it perfectly. Time is a belief of the ego. Notice it's a belief of the ego. So the lower mind, which is the ego's domain, accepts it without question. The only aspect of time that is eternal is now. It's just now. So Eckhart Tolle's got it right. There is no past. I mean, the past is past, right? But think about it for a moment. The past, doesn't it seem like a dream? It was a dream, something that happened once. Think about when you were a child. That's going to seem very much like a dream. And the future, that's a dream. That hasn't happened yet. That's already done. And then there's this wonderful quote in the Course where it says, God knows you only now. So God knows nothing about your past. There's no reason to know about your past. There's not, no, there's actually, in that sense, God doesn't see you as a sinner. There's a major difference with traditional Christianity. I'll say something more about that in a little bit. So the Holy Spirit uses time, but does not believe in it. Time, like the body, is a learning device. The Course has several things it talks about as learning devices. So we're in a world, the world itself is a learning device. We're in a world, in space, in time, with bodies for a very specific reason. And the reason is that we are here to remember, because this is a dream that we're having. We're here to remember or to awaken, as the Buddha said, he woke up to remember who we are, remember the self. So we're going to go through certain kinds of experiences in this world, which are actually designed to help us to awaken. Now, the Course says that God has a plan for our salvation, and that plan is laid out. But at the same time that that's true, we have this separate will. Now, I just said a moment ago that your will and God's will is the same. That's true. But the ego sees it as a separate will. So the ego's got a separate will that's broken off or away from the mind of God, or at least thinks it is or tries to be. But there's no eternity in that mind. That mind, again, is the mundane mind, or if you will, the mind of the world, or the mind of the ego. And that's total fantasy, total dream from which we all will eventually awaken. Coming from God, he uses everything for good. That's the Holy Spirit referring to here now. But he does not believe in what is not true. Since the Holy Spirit is in your mind, this is very good news. Your mind can also believe only what is true. So ultimately, there's that word ultimately again. Ultimately, we will remember who we are because you can't lose that. You can never leave that. That thought can never go out of the mind, but it can become so buried that we don't even notice it. We don't even see that it's there. So again, what happens with Jesus is very simply that he awoke to that memory and he says, I and the Father are one. So since the Holy Spirit is in your mind can also believe only what is true. Ultimately speaking, only what is true. So this world, our lives, the dream is a fantasy, it's not a reality, and we will awaken from that. The Holy Spirit can speak only for this because he speaks for God. He tells you to return your whole mind to God. As it is, again, our minds are split. They're not whole. They're peace because it has never left him. So that part of there's a part of our mind which never left the mind of God. Our job now is one of giving the mind back to God. And there's tremendous resistance on this. We'll talk about in a moment as the authority problem, because it looks like that if you would give your mind back to God, then you'd be a goner. The truth of the matter is, if you give your mind back to God, then you wake up. So this is sort of kind of an interesting paradox. We don't see it because what looks like death, and death is not death. Death is actually awakening. So what happens when we really do die, when we really let go, again, is that we're going home. That doesn't mean it's a good idea to go do away with your body because you're in the school for a reason. You're here to learn something. So as long as you're in a body, in a world, in time, it's a really good idea to learn whatever it is that you came here to learn, to remember, so that you can go back home, just straight back home, rather than kicking and fighting our way, which is what happens with a lot of us. So this is why dying is going home. What do you lose when you lose an illusion? You lose nothing. If your mind, has never left him, God, heaven, you need only perceive it as it is to return, to receive it as it is, the part of God. The full awareness of the atonement then is the recognition that the separation never occurred. Now, that's a very important point. So we think that there was a time when we left God, when we left home. And we see that time, that's the story of the Garden of Eden. When we separated, we came out of Eden and we came into this world. That appears to be something which happened in time. But again, as the sentence just says, the separation never occurred. You never left home. You're there now. It's impossible to leave. But again, this is what makes this whole world experience a dream or a fantasy and not reality. But we don't see that it has a, you'll see it when you get back to it. The ego cannot prevail against this because it is an explicit statement that the ego never occurred. The separation never occurred, the ego never occurred. There's no such thing as an ego. There's no ego in heaven. That would be absolutely impossible for there to be an ego in heaven because the ego is the idea of separation from heaven, right? So it's all mythology. The Garden of Eden story, all of that is a kind of mythology. But as Joseph Campbell told us, by studying with mythology, we can learn a lot about how we can get our way back home again. So you can't be an ego except within the dream. That is an illusion. And this is why relinquish an ego means coming to knowledge. Now, this is a very, very important point. And knowledge here begins with a capital K. So the Course distinguishes between perception and knowledge. Knowledge is where we're at in heaven. You know this. It's a simple knowledge. It's known, right? This is not knowledge in the simulation as a accumulation of fact. This is knowledge as awareness of who you are in truth. But knowledge stands outside of time. So knowledge has nothing to do with space and time. Heaven completely transcends space and time. Heaven is not a place. Of course, it's very clear. I mean, it's not a condition. It's merely, the Course says, an awareness of perfect oneness and the realization that there's nothing outside of this oneness. Now, that's kind of hard for us to grasp our minds around simply because we understand form very well. We're very attached to form. We understand thingness. We understand things that we can perceive and touch and see and hear. We understand all that. This is something which actually transcends that, which is hard for us to understand. But in truth, it's the only reality that there is. So God's will and your will. So you are afraid of God's will because you have used your own mind, which he created in the likeness of his own, to miscreate. So this is a part of this rebellion. By the rebellion, I mean our breaking away from God, creating our own world. And that's miscreation. We try to create our own world. The mind can miscreate only when it believes it is not free. Now, this is something we should really discuss. Only when it believes it's not free. No, this is, you have free will. It may not look like you have free will, but you have free will. And the reason you have free will is because God has free will. And you're a part of God. So if you're a part of God and God has free will and you have free will, then you must have free will as well. Right?